Hello, Pete.
Hello, Dave.
So today we're out on your 1926 Blackburne special. Tell us a little bit about it, Peter.
1924, actually, Dave.
1924. I'm sorry, mate. Yep.
And yes, it's a 550 side valve Blackburne special.
Wow.
The special bit comes, we think, because it is a BITSA. We believe it's a Triumph frame, probably a Triumph Model P frame. And the story behind it came from some friends in the early 1970s bought the contents of a motorcycle workshop in Croydon, London, and sitting at the back of the workshop in its packing crate was my engine, unused, never been fitted. They couldn't find a Blackburne frame, so they managed to modify a Triumph frame, and they managed to cobble a motorcycle together. So it's a little bit unusual. It's also unusual in the fact that Blackburne engines, whilst they were fitted to at least 70 motorcycles, supplied to 70 motorcycles, cars, lawnmowers, and aircraft, light aircraft, also used the Blackburne engine. It was a very, very successful engine of its day. There's a Ruff Key which keys the flywheel to the crankshaft. It's about half the size of your thumbnail, and if I got the ignition wrong or kangaroo petrol, that would shear this Ruff Key as easy as winking. And my friend Chris is a very, very good engineer. He and I came to the conclusion that the flywheel is too heavy. How do you find the weight of the flywheel? So there's a Blackburne Engine Owners Club on the Facebook, and I sent a request in there, can somebody tell me the weight of the flywheel, please? And we got a chap in Switzerland who came back short time afterwards saying the weight of the flywheel needs to be between 5.5 and 6 kilos. Well, that equates to about 10, 11 pounds, something like that. We weighed ours and it was 17 pounds.
Wow.
So way too heavy. And so Chris, too big to go into my lathe, and Chris very kindly put it into his lathe, which is a bigger machine, and probably took about 6 pounds off it.
Wow. Wow.
And it's behaved faultlessly after that.
And you've not lost any Woodruff keys since?
Not lost a Woodruff key since.
So had you previously been out on it and had to be rescued by Carol? Or?
No, we got it down to a fine art. We could change the Woodruff key because I keep some spares in the toolbox, and we keep some spares with us, and I could get it down to about 15 minutes.
Wow.
Because it's flywheel off, primary chain off, and then dig the key out and put a new one in and put everything back together.
So the bike's definitely a keeper?
Oh, absolutely.
It's part of a couple of bikes that you own, and for those people that watch my YouTube channel, you can see Pete's wonderful Velocette 200cc. Although the police use them, Pete's bike didn't come from the police service, but take a look at the video on this channel of Pete's other bike. So Pete, what other work needed doing? You married the frame with the engine and it was pretty smooth from there, and
absolutely faultless after that. Yes.
Yeah. Previous owner known to you, or?
I introduced myself to the previous owner shortly after I bought the motorcycle, and he had a lot of fun with it, but he unfortunately was at the age where he couldn't kick it over.
Yeah, it gets to us all, doesn't it?
It gets to us all. There is actually a bit of YouTube he did of him starting it in his garage.
Oh wow, I'll try and find that and put a link at the bottom of the video.
Dig it up, yeah.
What's the story about the frame, Pete?
Like I said, the friends who bought the contents of the motorcycle workshop, they couldn't find a Blackburne frame. Now, Blackburne stopped producing motorcycles by about 1922-ish. There's a connection with OEC, which is Osborne Engineering. Whether they were a customer or and used their engines in their frames, not quite sure. They did manage to find a Triumph frame. Possibly, we think, a Model P.
What, that your frame is a Model P?
My frame is a Model P. I've been to a show recently and there was a Triumph Model P next to me.
Yeah.
And we had a good look at the both of them. And apart from the front down tube,
Yeah.
which had been bent round
To the top of the
my
engine.
on the Triumph, it's a straight tube.
Yeah.
We think it's a Triumph P frame.
So maybe viewers who are viewing this video that maybe are more familiar with the P can put in the comments of the video.
I would love to hear, please. Yes.
And hear of it. Let's just take a quick look at the forks.
I know very little about the front forks. There's a damper on there which is just to block the hole up, which is the Andre, is it Andre damper?
Oh, no, I don't know, I'm sorry. I know nothing around. But
that is just to block the hole up in the top of the front steering tube. It doesn't actually dampen anything. Dampening is done on the other side of the fork there. There's a big wing nut with a pressure pad, which has got a lining material in between this side and the other side.
So it's like a friction material, is it? For younger guys like me that are not used to girder forks. Yeah.
And then the suspension spring in the middle there. And that's really all the dampening that there is. So depending upon how tight you squeeze the friction material up, depends upon its rigidity, if you like.
So Peter, tell me about the carburettor and tell me about the wheels.
The only thing I've done since I've had it, we had the front wheel re-rimmed and re-spoked.
And who did that for you, Peter?
A gentleman by the name of John Sillett up at Chatteris. And he is an absolute wizard. And he only took, I don't know, 5 or 6 days, week, something like that to do it. And what a nice gentleman. He also painted the front hub for me before he spoked it up. But there was nothing wrong with the old wheel rim, but it was a chrome rim.
Right.
And I like a clean machine.
Yeah.
And when I was cleaning it, I was getting chrome splinters.
Wow.
Which is nothing worse than a thistle splinter, I think. You can feel it, but you can't see it. So I thought, blow this, and the chrome's starting to lift off in places.
So are they stainless rims
They're
then, Peter?
stainless rims now.
They look like stainless spokes as well.
Stainless spokes. So I had new rim, spokes, and the nipples for them. And it set it off a treat. That
carburettor fitted to your machine looks like, well, I'm not quite sure who makes it. What's the history?
A AMAC carburettor.
Okay.
But unlike if you use the expression modern
carburettor from the 50s and 60s.
From the 50s and 60s, the difference between this one, let's go back step. On your carburettor, you have the throttle slide with a needle.
Yes.
And the needle, as you turn your throttle, so the needle lifts out of the jet.
Yes.
Which increases the flow of fuel.
Yeah.
At the same time,
and fuel
increases the air.
Yeah.
Now then, on this system, you'll see that I've got 2 throttle levers.
Yes.
On the right-hand handlebar. One is the air mixture.
Yes.
And one is the fuel mixture. So you have a jet in the bottom of the throat, which is a fixed jet. And the throttle slide, you have 2 throttle slides, one on top of the other. The outer one is your air. And then the inner one, I think it's that way round, the inner one regulates the amount of fuel. So how do you know how much air to open? Well, it needs a certain amount of air when you start it, but you want a fairly rich mixture, like a car engine would in the old days when you had a choke lever.
Yes, yes.
That will run on that, but then when you open the throttle up, you get going down the road, well, there's no get up and go, there's no oomph, like you're trying to run a car on choke. So you just open the air slide up a little bit more to give a bit more air, and away you go. Once you are going, generally what I do, I say to myself, right, let's open all the taps up. So air right open, fully advanced, and then that leaves you clear then to work the throttle. Paired with your twist throttle, did you know in 1924 we had cruise control?
No.
Ah, well I have, you see. I just set the throttle and off I go.
Oh, because it doesn't automatically
return.
There's an interesting story about the Piston when you first bought the motorcycle. We were chatting earlier over a coffee. Tell me about your, tell me about the Piston, mate, because what you got there looks a little bit.
This is the Piston. I said that we didn't have to do anything to the motorcycle after we bought it. reduced the weight on the flywheel, and we were going off to a run to meet some friends at a village a few miles away.
On that motorcycle?
On this motorcycle, and it'd been running a tree. And we stopped at a set of traffic lights for a set of roadworks, and all of a sudden the engine died. Oh, crumbs, now what have we done? The flywheel key is sheared. So we know what that is, right? So kicked it over. Well, that's funny. The engine's turning over, but we're not getting any ignition. What's happened here? The flywheel key hasn't sheared. Whatever's happened? My friend towed me back. He came out and towed me back. And,
what, on his motorcycle or car?
On his car. So we had
a rope from the car to the Blackburne.
Illegal, but we were rope towed behind his car back to the breakneck speed of about 20 miles an hour back to where we live. And later that day, we stripped the piston off, took the cylinder off, took the head off and everything. And we found the piston. And what had happened is the crown, this is the crown, which is...
And that's the piston that
this
failed?
This is the piston we took out, yeah. And you've got your spark plug at the top here. And this lot all slides up and down on the connector rod and the crank.
Of course, yeah.
And as you can see, the crown had come away from the what we call the skirt.
Yeah, yeah.
And fortunate enough, it had broken there, because that meant that this is now acting as a guide in the barrel, and it's not wanting to punch holes. Connecting rod's not wanting to punch holes through through the crankcase. So very lucky on there.
I get it. Yeah. So, new piston fitted. Tell me about acquiring a piston, because there's a story behind it.
There is a story behind it. Now, I'm going to say this: all your YouTube viewers, Dave, and how many thousand did you say you got? They all missed a trick, because bless her heart, my wife said, "That's it. Put it on the front lawn. Put the bike on the front lawn with a sign on it saying "Free to a good home."
What, after the piston had gone on it? Like,
failed. Where are you going to find a piston for a 1924 Blackburne engine? And by the way, somebody's been playing, because this is not the original piston.
Wow.
Originally, they'd have had a cast iron piston. And as you can see, this has been almost lightened, a lightweight racing piston perhaps. Don't know its history. And after much searching and talking to various people, eventually I was put in touch with a gentleman by the name of Martin Shelley. And Martin Shelley is up in Falkirk in Scotland, and he is the VMCC Blackburn specialist.
Right.
And said to him what I'd got, and before I phoned him, my friend Chris, who's a very good engineer, we took the barrel down to him, and he measured it, and then he got his magnifying glass out, and he's shaking his head.
This is a guy we affectionately know as Chris the Lathe.
Chris the Lathe, yeah. He was shaking his head, and he said, "Well, I can't understand this. What's the matter?" And he said, "This is a 98 years old, and there's 1 thou clearance between the top of the barrel and the bottom of the barrel.
Wow.
1 thou wear, if you like.
Yeah.
Human hair is 2.
Yeah.
So we're talking less than a cigarette paper.
Yeah.
And so he said, no, he said, that's standard bore. So we got in contact with Martin Shelley.
Yeah.
Had a chat with him.
Yeah.
And he said, yes, do you want standard or oversize? He said, the only thing is, he said, it's an aluminium piston, not the original cast iron piston. And so we were able to turn around to him and said, can I have a standard one, please? Yep, no problems. £50, post and packing.
Wow.
From Falkirk in Scotland.
Wow.
So then, of course, we're then chatting away and the conversation goes on. Well, how have you managed to find a Blackburn piston? Bearing in mind that the company packed up in 1937. I've got a Hepalite catalogue.
Yeah.
Now, Hepalite manufacture pistons for all manner of engines in existence today. And he said, eventually, I went through every manufacturer within the catalogue until I found one that fitted.
Wow.
One that was the right size. He said, the only thing is you will need a bigger gudgeon pin, which is the pin in the middle here, what the connecting rod connects them. So Cox and Turner in Yeovil very kindly supplied me with a longer gudgeon pin.
Yeah.
And we got Chris the Lathe up to make some what they call buttons to hold the pin in place.
Yeah, I get it. And what was the piston from the catalogue?
The piston, funnily enough, is a Subaru Boxer engine piston.
Subaru Boxer engine piston.
So,
And they use the same
they use the
piston near enough.
same dimensions, and but a 3-ring piston, so 2 compression rings, and an oil control ring.
Yeah.
We don't need an oil control ring on this because we want the oil to lubricate and go around the rings. So we run it as a 2-ring piston and just take the oil control
ring out.
Yeah.
Peter, let's go for a ride.
Terrorising the area.
Terrorising the area.
Come on, join us.